everyone, and welcome to a very special video. So it is currently Thursday, March 10th, and my power is out, so I can't work right now. So instead, I've decided to start filming this video. So I was scrolling on my phone earlier this morning, and I was looking for Lovecraftian anthologies, ones that were open to submissions this year, because I have my Tentacles and Boomboxes Lovecraftian LARP story to submit, but I found one where it has to revolve around a certain eldritch god of the Lovecraftian mythos, Azathoth. Now Azathoth is not in my story, but this anthology is open to submissions until May 31st, so I thought I would take you along with me on this journey of writing an Azathoth story. So the submission guidelines are 5,000 to 7,000 words for this story, so it will be a short story, a little bit longer than the ones I have written. Usually my short stories are like 4K, 4.5K max, so hurrah hurrah. This will be very exciting. So I have been trying to fill my creative well with creepy goodness, and I am excited to start brainstorming and try and figure out what I want to write. So step one for this project is filling the creative well. So I pulled out my Cthulhu's Daughters book. It is an anthology of stories and artwork and poems based off of the Lovecraftian mythos, all written by women, and it's pretty cool. So I read a story in there just to see how they do the whole cosmic horror different than what I've done, because I've written a few, but most of them involve someone like ending up in space or already in space and then seeing the eldritch being and losing their mind. So in my short story Boy in the Wallpaper, that is going to be in Lovecraftiana this June, that one I filled the creative well by the prompt for that, which was a photo. Well, it wasn't a photo, it was a painting. So they had a picture of the painting up for that competition. And I really, okay, that was actually a flash fiction, not a short story. But anyway, yes, The Boy in the Wallpaper. So that one, the Lovecraftian being is an image of a boy on the wallpaper that peels off and has seen this man grow up. He's an old man now, stuck in the attic, basically, in the nursery upstairs, because he's old and going a little senile and they don't want the kids to see it. So he's up there and the boy peels off the wallpaper and consumes, comes up to the man and consumes him and sends him through his vast expanse of eyes to outer space to see this unknowable being that this man's grandfather had told him about growing up. Roy. Yeah, so that was fun. I have done one where it's an astronaut in space trying to do maintenance on a spaceship, and as they are spacewalking up the side, they come up and face something that couldn't show up on their scanners. Some crazy tentacle monster thingy that can phase through his suit and helmet into his mind. So that was cool. My Tentacles and Boomboxes Lovecraft LARP one has actual eldritch beings underground that these LARPers come into contact with. So I have on Earth, I have taken to space, and I have already in space. So yeah, I wanted to see how other people did it. So the one I just read was called Violet is the Color of Your Energy, and it was by Nadia Bulkin. So this one was about farmers, this farmer and his wife, and the wife is concerned because after this explosion of light touchdown thing happens in the cornfield, the corn starts to grow like gangbusters, but also like her husband starts acting weird and the corn doesn't taste quite right, and it ends more Lovecraftian, but it seems more normal in the beginning, so that was cool to see. So maybe starting out on Earth normal, and then having it happen to somebody else that forces it upon you, by like force feeding you corn out of the cornfield. But yeah, like that was a cool thing to read. There's also this really cool artwork called Possession by Catherine Weaver. So this woman possessed by a tentacle being, like you can see him in the rib cage and coming out of her mouth, so like that was pretty cool. More fancy old-fashioned dress, so trying to pick a time period. I also listened to the first half of the first song of a Lovecraftian rock opera on Apple Music, and it was really cool. I didn't finish the song and the thing because I don't want to copy the whole thing. I will take inspiration from where I can get it, but it starts out with this man going to confession, and the priest asks like, how long has it been? And he's like, it's been this many days. And then he's like, and like converts that time, it's been this many minutes, hours, and then minutes, and then seconds. He's like freaking out that it's been this long since confession, because he has now seen pure evil. Not human evil, but pure evil, and it's in the building where they are. And like, that's really cool. So something that unknowable and evil but haunting a church is cool. I do have a lot of religious parallels, I guess, in some of my horror, like in Cloaks and Bones. It has some mentions to Catholic beliefs of like, yeah, so like I've dabbled in pulling things here and there, but like I don't know if I want to go another religion route or try and do something different, but it was really cool. So let me read the anthology's theme for you, just so we know the gist. This project will be the first in a series of anthologies focusing on each of the Lovecraftian gods featured in the wildly successful The Gods of H.P. Lovecraft. The first anthology begins with the primal origins and the god Azathoth, who represents primordial chaos in the world of the Lovecraftian mythos. H.P. Lovecraft described Azathoth as a demon king ruling from a dark throne in the middle of a fiery cosmic void, out of which all created things emanated. Surrounding his orbital spiral of infinite chaos and creation sounded the repetitive notes from an incessant flute. This is a reference to the god Pan in Greek mythology and the symbol of created chaos, behind the apparent orderliness of the natural world. Taking this imagery as our departure, the stories presented in this first anthology will deal with the notion of order out of chaos, and will engage with the cosmic demon Azathoth as ruler standing over the endless chaotic process. Stories must include Azathoth in some shape or form. The more creative and different, the better. Furthermore, some aspects of the story must include the theme of order out of chaos. How this looks and develops in the story is up to the author. No interest in overt Lovecraft pastiche. Elements of occultism, esotericism, and magic are very much appreciated. So, yeah. So I have to incorporate this unknowable being that, like, there's so many theories. I have been going through YouTube watching deep dives into Azathoth lore, and there's this really cool theory that runs rampant that Azathoth, the creator of all things, has these drums and these flutes playing to keep him asleep because our entire universe is his dream. And if he wakes up, he ceases to exist. So I love that existential dread that brings in. And so that's where I'm going to be pulling some more ideas of how to craft this story. So one of my initial vague inklings of an idea for this story is, what if the main character is a flute player, but they are going to be playing to keep Azathoth asleep? So that might be cool. So either that, or I don't know, like, I need to brainstorm more. So I actually also have one more story that is my Gates of Ascension story that has Lovecraftian elements to it. So in that one is set in space, like a different solar system, and in it there are these Mobius strip gates, kind of like stargates, but these ones you can pass into it but you can't get back, and on the other side are these elder gods, like Lovecraftian ones. So Cthulhu's not there, Azathoth is not there, my own variations of this type of creepy being. But there are oracle priestesses that interpret the sighings and whisperings that come through the gates of these elder gods and interpret them to foretell the future and stuff like that for this solar system. So there's like 5 gates in the system, and so there are priestesses and scribes at each gate, and the priestesses go blind from the gases that come through and have a blinding vision. So I don't know if I want to cannibalize some of that and use that, because I've never seen that particular variation done before, or leave that for my adult sci-fi. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. This is gonna take a lot of thinking. So I have a confession to make. I've read one short story of Lovecraft's. I think it was actually a prose poem, and the first section or 2 of one of his books, and that's it. I don't know much of his actual text. He is a problematic author with his racism and xenophobia, but his ability to make people fear the unknown is what makes him stand out. Just fear of the unknowable. So I have this book called The Weird. It's very thick and tiny print, double columned. So in this book I have The Dunwich Horror by Lovecraft. So while the power is out, I'm gonna read something on paper. So I'm gonna actually read one of his books. So we'll see what this sparks up, if it gives me any ideas on how to do things differently, which would be more like closer to the original. But yeah, I'm just gonna mine this for ideas on how to represent things on page. Like, how do you describe something that humans can't comprehend, that they go mad when they see it? How do you describe that on page? Like, yeah, there's not many shadows you can hide things in when it's in writing, unless you just don't describe it. So, and descriptions are one of the things I love to write. So I want to be able to pull this off in a interesting way. So let's get to reading. Roy is coming to join me. He's interested in reading too, aren't you, sir? Yes. So let's hop to it. Okay, so I've just barely started, but one thing I've noticed is that he likes to make the scenery unnatural and eerie. So it says, let's see. When a rise in the road brings the mountains in view above the deep woods, the feeling of strange uneasiness is increased. Their summits are too rounded and symmetrical to give a sense of comfort and naturalness, and sometimes the sky silhouettes with especial clearness the queer circles of tall stone pillars with which most of them are crowned. So, just the sense of things are man-made, I guess, of like things are too perfect, and it makes it uneerie, like eerie, so unnerving. That's the word I was going for. So I like that. Even just the start, even though we haven't seen anything crazy yet, we're starting in with the creep factor just with the descriptions of the environment. That nothing is too outrageous, it just has that uncanny valley feeling of something's not quite right, it's too perfect. Great news, my power is back on now. Hurrah, hurrah. I read a little bit more, and it seems to be like an omniscient narrator style. I have no idea who's narrating, if it is a specific character, but I definitely don't want to go that route with my story. I definitely want it to be a close to a main character. So we can see things through their eyes and not know what they don't know, and just go along for the ride that way. I don't know if I want to do first or third person yet. I probably won't do second person. I usually save that for my micros, my 100-word horror shorts, because they're short and sweet, and it's really fun to mess with second person, but I haven't done it for extended pieces. So, yeah, I guess it's time to get back to work. Alright, so I stopped reading because power came back on, and I was able to be on Barrett's Critique Group Live and get my first 2 chapters of Cracks of Fear critiqued, so that was good. And then I was on the Dark Writers of Toronto Discord group, and we wrote to prompts, so I wrote 2 little stories, so that was good. And now, back to this story. So, I was on the Twitches, and there are a lot of people that do tarot readings for free on Twitch, and I like to use it to help me develop my stories. So, the first person I went to was Nabnia, and I asked yes or no questions. So I got to ask 5, and I asked, the first one was, does this story, this Lovecraftian story, take place on Earth? And the answer was no, not on Earth, but it takes place where there's a lot of poverty. Second question I asked is the main character human? The answer was yes, and they are rich and live in pleasure. The third question I asked was, can they play an instrument? Or are they going to be forced to play an instrument? And 2 cards actually came up for that one. So they cannot play an instrument at first, but they're blissfully ignorant about it. But they will be forced to play one by an authority figure. So I'm thinking she's going to be one of the flute players to try and keep Azathoth asleep. And then I asked, can they see the god that they are playing for? And the answer I got from the tarot reading was they cannot see Azathoth. They have a hard time with it at first, but she will see him eventually when he awakens. So that split instant where Azathoth's eyes open, she sees him and then winks out of existence. So that's going to be cool. And I asked, does she get along well with the other musicians? And no, she does not get along well with the other musicians. She's not handling the stress well. So that was cool. just a basic premise, basically, for a story. And then I went to Naptime Witchery and I asked to do a poll for figuring out about my main character. What drives her, basically. And here is the laundry list of details that they got from these cards. So my main character, I want it to be a girl. She is youthful, immature, not serious, insecure, not trusting her gut, is a positive person despite mistakes, has childlike views, likes to complete tasks, and likes just rewards. They will have growth. Her mother did not stand up for herself. My main character is a follower and okay with that. They have imposter syndrome. They like to be the second in ranking at something. So we'll see how many of these I use, if I want to keep these or if I want to do a different tarot pull to try and figure out my main character. So these are just cool ways to find lists of aspects of your character. So fun times, but I do believe it is time to go to sleep. So calling it here for tonight. I might read more of that Lovecraft story, so tonight while I get ready for bed. But Roy's asleep on the couch. He's so cute. Yes, so that's it for now. I will be back when I get back to the story. Okay, so this is a big part of my process. Is sleeping. Trying to sleep. So I've been laying here in bed for a few minutes just mulling things over and thinking about how I don't want this story to be too simple. I don't want it to just be someone who is drafted to become one of the flute players to keep Azathoth asleep. I'm wondering if his exhales of his breathing come through into our world to the players to influence them into some way. How old is my main character? Do I want there to be a time skip where she's drafted when she's very young to be trained into this, and then have a time skip and then have it be when she's like 16? So start when she's like 4 and then go to 16? Or like, how do I want this to go? Okay. Another thought. So, this universe is Azathoth's dream. What if he starts having a nightmare? How would that change this? Or is this... Can eldritch beings have nightmares? Can they be scared of things? He creates stuff out of chaos. So what if the world was pure order? Would that be a nightmare? I don't know. Maybe she's abducted by the cult and forced into this. So she's not just drafted, she's like abducted as a kid by the cult. The cult of Azathoth. Is there a magic system with the music? I was thinking of her playing a dissonant note to break the ethereal nature of the music to awaken Azathoth. But what is not just like a dissonant music, but like a dissonant magic against the magic keeping him asleep with the music? Right. Yeah. So yeah. Because in the anthology, They state that they would like occultism, magic, or cults. So, like, do I want a magic system? And what type of flutes are these? Do they have reeds? Like, is it where, like, dads who know nothing about music call every instrument a flute? Or are they modern earth flutes? Or some strange space flute that's all long tubing and stuff? I don't know. Do they have piccolos and alto flutes? Maybe she alters her flute, and that alters the magic, and that creates the discord and the chaos that awakens Azeroth. Okay, so back to the prompt for the anthology. It says, he is a demon king ruling from a dark throne in the middle of a fiery cosmic void. Surrounded this orbiting spiral of infinite chaos and creation. Like, fiery cosmic void. So, is that where the flute players are? Are they in that type of environment, just surrounded by heat and blackness? Where they lose their sense of self because they can't even see themselves? Or is it not just heat but actual fire? But it needs oxygen? Does that matter? Because this is Azathoth? Yeah. I'm right. Is the fiery cosmic void outside of our universe that he is in, but mirrored in our universe where they're at, so that the two the two dimensions can meet, so that the sound can go through to him? Because you would think the players would be on his side, like in his dimension, but if my character is human, it has to be in our dimension, inside the dream. So I like the idea of the dream trying to keep him asleep so that the dream can continue. Lots to think about. I'm gonna try and actually sleep now. Good morning. Okay. So I had one more thought last night, but I was too lazy to get the camera. And luckily, I was able to lay in bed a little bit this morning and try and recall what that was. So, my final thought from trying to sleep last night was, what if we don't just blink out of existence when Azathoth wakes up? What if he's the kind of being to slowly wake up, and therefore the universe starts disintegrating, and maybe the people's minds start disintegrating as well as he wakes up, so things are slowly dissolving away. Everything is falling apart. Yeah, so I don't know, maybe he's a slow waker upper. So yeah, not sure which way I will go, Oh yeah. Good morning. Okay, I am walking Roy right now this morning, and I had another idea. What if it's not just flutes and drums, but instruments that humans cannot hear? And what if our human main character is assigned to one of these instruments that she cannot hear, and so she has to trust that it's actually working? So, I don't know. Just laying here thinking and wondering, what if these instruments run on blood? I don't know. Like, they need it to fuel how they function. Like, you still need air to produce the noise, but if blood is a necessity for the instrument to function, who knows? The flutes could be living organisms. Alright, everybody. It has been about 24 hours now since I first found the anthology and the prompt for it and my brainstorming process. And I think I'm going to cut the vlog here because I started editing it and apparently it's already over half an hour for 24 hours worth of thinking. So, holy cow. Yeah, I will continue vlogging my process of starting to put words down on the page and editing and submitting and getting either the rejection or the acceptance into this anthology. So we'll get the whole thing. But yeah, this is going to take a while because the anthology doesn't close until May 31st. So I have a lot of time to go through and get beta reader feedback, and it'll be a long time until I get the acceptance or rejection. So, hurrah, hurrah! This is part 1, and I'll see you guys in part 2. Bye!